Hello, my name is Gabriel Islas. I am a painter based in Oxnard, California.
Oh, well, it's nice meeting you, first off. I'm Marlene.
Hi, Marlene. Nice to meet you as well.
Nice to meet you virtually.
I'm very excited about this. You're our guinea pig, and we'll see how this goes. You have such a great way about you. I feel like all of our conversations have been very chill, and just easygoing. So that's kind of how I'm approaching this whole thing. It's just very
Cool.
casual, laid back.
So, Gabriel, tell me, where are you from?
I was born and raised in Oxnard, California. So I went to Oxnard High School.
Were you starting to take art classes in high school?
Yeah, I mean, at that point, I kind of felt like it was definitely my thing. I was kind of referred to as the artist, so I kind of ran with it, and I'm like, sure, it's fun to do. So, and then of course, it was always just really fun to doodle during class. I hate to say, but that's kind of something that I just always, I don't know, love to do. And I remember there was an art course there that was just very laid back. It was very relaxing. So a part of me just liked to do art, and a part of me just liked to kind of sit back and relax in the chill classes. So, but I did actually start taking private art lessons in Camarillo during the same time. And that's kind of where I got introduced to traditional art, like painting and chalk pastel, colored pencil, and that was really fun, definitely.
But not in Oxnard.
I never really found a good place in Oxnard specifically to study painting or drawing or any of that.
Interesting. Like, there's a reason why we're going to start teaching art classes at the Performing Arts Center.
Right. I know. If only this was around when I was younger, I would be all up in there.
Yeah, I'm totally promoting our art class throughout this whole conversation. So thank you for giving me that space. Yeah, but that's cool. I mean, I think those experiences are so pivotal. I remember taking art classes as a kid, and my mom had to go out of her way to take me to the local art museum. And this was in Miami, but, just stretching your creative brain and skill set. I mean, it's so important, I think. And it helps you in a lot of different ways. I don't know if you could say the same, but, just it's not just about the art, right? It's all these other related benefits that come with art practice.
Yeah, and it kind of like plants a seed, and I get really just given the fact that I was involved in art from a young age, it kind of brings back like nice memories, I suppose. Like even just the smell of chalk pastels, something about it, I kind of get like relaxed, and it takes me back to when I was, taking art lessons over there, and like when I went to school up in San Francisco, the whole building was dedicated to fine art. They had multiple sections split across downtown San Francisco. So they had, a fashion department and, architecture and all these various buildings. They were, I think, one of the largest landowners of the city. So one of the buildings I was in was all fine art. And I remember walking into the second floor, which was specifically painting, and just the smell of all the linseed oil and the turpentine, which is really bad for you, but the smell of it was like really comforting. I'm like, all right, this is nice. I feel like this is kind of familiar, and I'm happy to be here. So it was kind of just, and it all came from these earlier classes that I took. I mean, landscape specifically, I've always been drawn to because it's, in a sense, very neutral. It doesn't really have a strong opinion, so to speak. I mean, growing up, as life gets complicated, I want to say it was around the time I was going to community college, I started hiking a lot and going backpacking. And my best friend, Tommy, introduced me to, going up in the Sespe behind Ojai and going back there and everything. And it's such a great literal breath of fresh air. And hiking is a great way to clear your mind, and to kind of get that sort of rush out of your brain from, urban life. And I think I have a lot of respect for that, and a lot of respect for the magnificence of how grand these, mountain ranges are, and the light hitting it, and all the creatures and life that remains there and has been for, before all of us. So it's kind of something that I feel everyone can appreciate. And most certainly I've come to greatly appreciate it. So I think that's why it's really proven to be such a fun subject for me. Most recently in my series, I've been focusing a lot on the local landscapes from like Ventura County, not so much back in the mountains, but even just here. And because when I was growing up and before I really knew too much about hiking and the area around Ventura County, the one connection I had was the mountains. So to me, I feel like that's how a lot of other people can connect to them. So like even the painting behind me, that's a lake in Oxnard, surprisingly. There's a little unknown lake a lot of people don't know about called McGrath Lake, right in between the power plants down by 5th Street and the river. And you get some great vistas there. But the mountains, even if the foreground isn't familiar, those mountains are. So it's like a nice connecting point, I think the color definitely pulls me. And I've always been attracted to the softness of it versus like the rough texture of like charcoal or chalk pastel. Certain pastels can become very soft and very painterly, which is something I want to explore in the future. But for me, painting, I just there's a certain like romanticism with it. Like it's very, I don't know, it's almost poetic, I guess, in a sense. When you make these really, really soft, distant, violet mountains or whatever it is, even portraiture, it becomes very personal, and I think that, and that could be said with a lot of mediums, but I think for me at least, I've really chosen to expand on oil painting. Most of the time when I go on these hikes, or a lot of the times I'm going with the intent to get these photos, I do just photograph them. I come home, I crop them, I edit them, I'll do a sketch, and then and during the cropping process, I'm on my computer. That's also where I figure out what size canvas or panel I'm gonna paint on. So the creative process really starts all the way from when I'm on location. But I do have the setup to paint on location. I do love doing that. That's a great exercise. It's something that I always want to keep up. And usually for the classes I teach, I'll bring those supplies with me. So I have all my plein air stuff with me during the classes, and that's kind of like my mobile studio as well.
This reminds me of Bob Ross, right? Like put a tree here, let's add some little birds, right? That idea that you can manipulate that photo reference and really create a piece yourself. So I was joking, that you're kind of like the Oxnard Bob Ross, and I'm wondering if you even watched him as a kid.
I think Bob Ross is an excellent example for the spirit of which you should approach a painting, and to not stress yourself out, and to leave yourself some gray room, and to not really be so tied down, to a certain idea of how a painting should look. And I just love his whole, his whole attitude towards it. I think it's great. I think his painting style is very stylized. I don't paint like that, but that's okay. I think everyone has their own style. But I think that's something I really respect out of him, is just how he really approaches the whole attitude towards painting.
Yeah, you're very positive like him. And I think that's probably the large similarity I see between the two of you.
Mm.
So we did put an afro on your flyer advertising.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm like, yes, there he is.
Okay, we can edit it off if you want.
No, I like the afro. I've always been curious how I looked with one. So. I really wish I could be in two places at once. I feel like there's so many opportunities, and like I don't want to skip out on one and do the other. It's like I just wish I could be in two places at one time. Oh my gosh, I feel like I can talk about so many things. I mean, San Francisco has so many advantages, but also many disadvantages. Particularly their, ridiculous housing costs. Also, I never really realized how much this would affect me, but given how old of a city that is, it gave me like what is it, claustrophobia, just getting around, because all the streets are so narrow. I think just the rush of it, of the life there, was a little bit much for me at times, and I definitely like that kind of laid back feeling that Ventura County has, and particularly Oxnard.
We got 2 grants at the Oxnard Performing Arts Center Corporation, better known as OPAC, to launch a teen art program. And this is something I have been wanting to do forever. And I feel like teenagers are so special, and there's not enough for them in Oxnard. And the arts are such a great thing. Like, everyone should have art in their lives, whether you're good at it or not. It's just good. I want OPAC to be a place where everyone feels like they can just go take a class, chill, have friends, just have a cool place to go. Like, that is my dream, and that's kind of what we're working towards. It's 6 weeks on Saturdays from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. We're going to start February 20th through March 27th. All the classes are outdoors, so it's COVID safe. You have to wear masks and all that jazz, and we have tons and tons of hand sanitizer. And we'll take temperature checks. So everyone should feel safe, right? Like, everyone is going to have their own table, their own supplies. We'll be outside in the courtyards and kind of spread out. But I think as we open back up, it should be fine. So
yeah.
Anyway, so tell us more about what you plan to teach.
Well, first off, I think it's amazing that this program is free. I mean, I'm so sad that this wasn't around when I was in high school, because this is just an incredible opportunity. And I'm essentially going to be modeling it after a lot of my classes that I teach in Ventura, in their teen art program. But they, essentially, I'm a very process-orientated painter, because I get overwhelmed. For me, something that's helped me to really absorb as much as I could, especially in school, was to really break it down step by step. And I think that's the easiest way for students to learn as well. So, we all start from a photo reference. We do sketches so that we can work on our composition and kind of move things around to how we like, so there's some individuality with what we're doing. We're not all doing the exact same piece. And then we start with the underpainting, and I demo every step. We work step by step. And then once I'm done demoing, I walk around and I help everyone out. And I kind of do a little one-on-one, see what they're up to, see if they need help with anything. But from the underpainting, we essentially start from the back forward. So in the painting behind me, I started with the sky, and then worked my way to the mountains and then to the foreground. And that entire process could be covered in the 6 weeks. So also, we're going to do a little color study as well. Because I know painting is, it's new to a lot of these teens, and it could be a lot to absorb. And I know that. So we're going to start our painting on a very small 8x10. That doesn't have to be accurate, but just to kind of test around and to mix these colors and to get used to the feel of the paint and how much paint to use, and just to test it out, without any pressure. And then from there, we move on to a larger canvas, and we do the same image, only this time we take it a little bit slower, and we put a little bit more care towards it. And then usually by the 6th week, we'll have a full, a finished painting by then.
That's amazing. Yeah. That's so cool. I want to take the class. I had to save a spot for me. Whoever takes it will be really immersed in the practice, and they'll have like something super legit at the end of the class, which I think is very cool.
That's the idea. And I want to show you something real quick, just since I'm, we're doing a video call. I actually have
show and tell.
this is my color study for the painting behind me. So you can tell it's very simple. I kind of just threw the colors down, mainly for the sake of testing out the colors without refining or defining any of the drawing. And this is relatively big, but it's not big compared to that thing. You know, this is much smaller. It's much more easier to handle. So this is something that I always try to incorporate in the classes, just to test it out and to get them used to it. And it's something that I have to admit I never did going to school. Even though all the teachers told me, you know, do these color studies, test it out. This is how so many artists get through their process. And maybe it's just because, you know, I had a lot on my plate with so many classes and going to school full time and working. Or maybe I'm making excuses and I just didn't want to do it. But I know that when I left school, it stuck in my head as something that that I need to take seriously. And then once I started doing painting here in my studio, I always incorporated it, and it definitely helps. So it's something that we always, you know, try to work on in class.
If anyone's interested in joining the class, you can apply online. It's a scholarship basis. So we'll see how many takers we get, but you can go to oxnardperformingarts.com and look for the teen art program under the events page. The applications there, it's super, super simple, but we just want to get to know who's interested in the class. So yeah, and I do want to do a shout out to the Smith Hobson Foundation here in Ventura County and the Reed Foundation for the Arts for their generous support, because without them, this would not be happening.
Hey, I mean, if it's fun to do, pursue it. You know, I mean, try to experiment with different, you know, avenues of creativity while you're young, you know, because at a certain point, you know, once you start working and your life really gets moving, it's going to be hard to find times to try these different things out. So I think if it sounds fun to you, if it's interesting to you, then you should go for it. And who knows, you might choose it as a career.
Because apparently there's a bunch of like art openings in Ventura County for artists.
In the world of artists, this is what we look out for, these opportunities like this. Oh, well, I do have a website, GabrielIslasArts.com, and I have an Instagram, which I believe is just Gabriel Islas Art.
And then you have an upcoming art exhibit, if I'm right. Like, tell us what's on the horizon for you.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. It's at the Conejo Valley Art Museum. I've been tirelessly working towards that. I have a couple new exciting paintings. So this one behind me is going to be up. It's, I believe, at the Jan's Mall starting February 1st. And I believe it's going to run for a month or two.
Well, we applaud you and congratulate you, and we're so excited for you. Thank you for making time to speak with us today.